Vasistha continued, Ram, if the universe existed in a seed state in the absolute Brahman during the cosmic dissolution, then it would need a cooperative cause for its manifestation after the dissolution. To assume that the universe manifested without such cooperative causation is to assume the existence of a barren woman's daughter. Hence, the fundamental cause itself has to be seen as the very nature of the Supreme Being, which continues to be so even during the period after the dissolution, in what one regards as this creation. There is no cause and effect relation between the Supreme Being and the universe. And I think this is a very profound point, actually. Not just from the point of view of metaphysics, but in terms of our own relationship with the universe. You know, whenever you have the idea of a supreme being or a God which creates the universe, you've got to ask yourself the question, why? And the answers to these questions are invariably incredibly stupid actually. I mean, why should God, the omnipotent entity, create the universe? Because he's lonely? Because God's lonely? Because God wants to be loved? He wants to be worshipped? Well, how pathetic is that? Is the Supreme Creator so pathetic that it's lonely? You know, it's projecting the basic, very limited human qualities onto the Supreme Creator. It's a much more logical answer to suggest that the Supreme Being, God, didn't create the world at all. On the other hand, though, there is ongoing creativity going on, isn't there? There is such immense diversity, huge. There's apparent intelligence in all things. There's an ongoing becoming. And it is as it is. It is simply the ongoing, it is simply the Supreme Being. It's often described as omnipresent as well. If the Supreme Being is omnipresent, well, that means that there is nowhere that the Supreme Being isn't. Every atom, every moment is filled with the Supreme Being. And there can be no distance between us and the Supreme Being. In fact, there can be no separation whatsoever. Every atom of our being is infused with the Supreme Being. This is what omnipresence means. There can be no separation. There can be no separation between the Supreme Being and any supposed creation of the Supreme Being. Millions of universes appear in the infinite consciousness, Chid Akasha, like specks of dust in a beam of light streaming into a room through a hole in the roof. But even as such specks of dust are not to be seen in the outside sunlight itself, the world is not seen in the supreme non-dual consciousness. That is because these universes are non-different from the infinite consciousness, even as one's nature is not different from oneself. At the conclusion of the cosmic dissolution, there arose the creator of the universe, who is nothing more than memory. The thoughts that arose from that memory constitute this world appearance, which is no more real than a pie in the sky. For the memory from which the thought sprang has itself no valid basis, because all the deities of the previous world cycle, like the Creator, Brahma, etc., had surely attained liberation. When there is no one to remember, how can memory exist? So we're trying here to, well, Vasistha's trying here to come to terms with the Hindu metaphysics about how the universe comes and goes. Thus, that memory which arose in consciousness, whether of previous experiences or otherwise, appears in the world. Doesn't matter where it came from, really, it's happened. That spontaneous world appearance in the infinite consciousness is known as spontaneous creation. And it's going on right now, it's happening right now, the spontaneous creation. It's ongoing. This world appearance assumed a certain ethereal form which is known as the cosmic person. Again, we've got some more Hindu cosmology, this notion of the cosmic person that we've met before in the guise of Hiranyagarbha. We can say there's I don't think we need to go here really, but I suppose we can say there's such a thing as a cosmic person, in that there's form and there's intelligence. So perhaps we can talk about the cosmic person if it helps, but let's just pass over that. In one small atom, all the three worlds appear to be, with all their components like space, time, action, substance, day and night. In that there are other atoms in which there are such world appearances, just as there is a figure in an uncarved marble slab, and that figure, which is marble, has a figure in its limbs, and so on ad infinitum. Hence, O Rama, in the eyes of both the enlightened and the ignorant, the vision does not vanish. Which is an important point. Sometimes we get the idea that from the language which is used that the world disappears when you get enlightened. But the vision does not vanish. To the enlightened, this is Brahman at all times, and to the ignorant, it is always the world. So there you go. It depends on your understanding and how it, and whether you're in touch with the reality of it or not. In utter void, you see what is regarded as distance. In the infinite consciousness, you see what is regarded as creation. Creation is just a word without corresponding substantial reality. So we see what is regarded as distance. This is what gives it a sense of something out there. There's no distance, it's all happening here. Just as all sound is happening here, all space is happening here as well. But then we kind of assume, we make this separation between I and out there, and but it's a separation that we make, it's not there inherently. And that out there we call the creation.